Hello everyone, welcome to the episode 44 of Solid Saturday. Our today's guests, Judith and Jim, they are best-selling authors of 8 books, married psychology team, and have more than 70 years of combined experience helping people break through their personal barriers to liberation and success in various areas of life, including professional success as well as love and real romance. Today, they are an executive coaching team for tech company leaders around the world, as well as the hosts of their popular podcast series, Overcoming the Fear of Being Fabulous, which went straight into the Apple or iTunes top 50 most listened to podcast the very first week it went live. I'm sure we are going to have very good conversation with them because we are discussing career growth, professional career, barriers in the personal lives, and I feel they are the perfect leaders to guide us through their experience, and we are going to learn from their career journey as well as how did they find their area of interest and managing to lead that career interest. So welcome, Judith and Jim, and very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you, Lisha.
Thank you, Lisha. It's our pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and its pleasure is all mine, and really appreciate all your time and consideration. So before we get directly into the questions, I would like to start with your story, how you both met, and how did this journey started.
We met on a blind date,
Uh-huh.
and what's important here for everybody to understand is that Jim and I, before we ever met, long ago, were professional actors. Jim was a stage actor, and I did a lot of television, and we both walked away from our careers.
Wow.
So on our blind date, we spent about an hour talking about why did you walk away? Why did you quit? And it led to a vast discussion that went on for the rest of our lives about the fear of being fabulous.
Oh wow, that's great. And to begin with, our first question is about Jim. You were actor as well as Judith. You both were in the acting career, and you hold PhD in psychology, and then you are an executive coach, trainer, author. So while handling these multiple roles and responsibilities, what do you feel that you enjoyed the most and why?
Of all those options,
Yes.
right now, what we're doing right now is we are executive coaches in Silicon Valley and around the world. And we are producing a program now called Being Fabulous in Business with some extraordinary women who work for the Jackie Lyles Group in Houston, Texas. That's what I'm enjoying most now. I have written my first 2 novels, and today I will put the finish on the 3rd novel. And that's it. They're very poetic and they're philosophical and poetic. I enjoy that a great deal.
Wow. I'm just loving talking to you guys, and you are like the most experienced people on my show, so I'm going to learn a lot more, as well as audience is also going to learn a lot more from your experience. So when we are talking about this area of interest, as you mentioned that right now you are more over into coaching side, and you are looking forward to train and coach multiple people, and moreover like a women in the business. So what do you think, what are the important things that one has to go through when one person, anybody finds their interest or the passion?
When people have found their work that they're really passionate about, what we see that most people fail to do is give themselves permission to excel.
Mm-hmm.
They suffer from what is today called the imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
very frequently feeling like, how did I get here? I shouldn't be this successful. And they play themselves down.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very difficult time receiving praise and compliments. So we would urge everyone watching your podcast
Mm-hmm.
to take stock. How well do they receive praise and compliments? Because if you can't receive it, you're not being nourished, you're not being encouraged, and it's up to you to change that.
If you can't receive it, in fact, you can't give it.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes sense. And definitely it is very wise actually to listen from you guys. And when we are talking about this, your podcast series, which is a lot more popular, I also checked out the episodes and I loved them. So, overcoming the fear of being fabulous, what is this about, and why do you feel that people have the fear?
Well, all of us live with unconscious content, the content of our unconscious mind, and it's not accessible. Most people don't know what's going on in their own minds. And the unconscious is dominant. So if something is there, you will keep repeating it. That's the only real non-therapeutic clue that something is going on. You keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you're trapped in some unconscious belief, some unconscious commitment. We call those unconscious allegiances. There's also the other side, which are unconscious forbiddances. This is logically simply follows. If you had a dedication to one direction, you don't go in another direction. Well, when it's personal, like emotion, it's not simply random. You don't go. You are internally forbidden to go in another direction.
What's important to understand here in terms of what Jim is talking about is that we are all taking in the environment we grew up in without any ability until the age of about 7, 8, or 9, when the brain has developed sufficiently to question the values, what we've been taught as young children. That's a fact. That is brain anatomy. So anybody that's raised in a family that is being taught, be humble, don't brag, don't toot your horn, who do you think you are, you're never going to amount to much, I wish I'd never had you, and plenty of parents say those things. Then when you're an adult, that unconscious stuff is in your mind controlling you unless you begin to question it, come to terms with it, and change consciously.
This is not that difficult to understand. Think about people's dedication to their religions. The religion may be a fantasy, but they're dedicated anyway, and they will work ambitiously to maintain that fantasy.
Yep, that definitely makes sense as you are mentioning the word dedication, and that shows in your career journey as well actually. So you are dedicated towards your career and you achieved that success. So definitely if somebody tries to pursue it with the full of dedication, definitely they can win over the unconscious mind and have the conscious efforts towards the success. So
it's not automatic. It's not automatic. You have to focus on it and do the work necessary to excavate it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And moving towards one more thing that, we are talking about the tagline that you came up with, which is "You are a miracle." You have created the 3-minute video also, which I'm definitely going to encourage audience to check it out. So what do you think people have so many doubts about themselves? Like, what would you like to explain the idea behind it when you are saying somebody that you are a miracle, and why we have to say it explicitly to anybody?
So many people are busy comparing themselves with someone else and downplaying who they are. Somebody else is smarter. Somebody else is more ambitious. Somebody else is prettier, more handsome, whatever it might be. And we created the 3-minute video, which is free. So we invite everyone to watch You Are a Miracle. Because the message is, you are a one-of-a-kind miracle. There is no one else on this planet, and never has been and never will be again, who is you. You are responsible solely for you. So people need to go to overcomingthefearofbeingfabulous.com/miracle. And it's free, costs nothing, and the message is very powerful. People tell us all the time how it was helpful to them to really see what a miracle they are.
Yep, So I would definitely encourage the audience, do check it out. Whenever I publish this episode, I'm going to post the links as well, associated links. So
Thank you.
have the freedom to check it out.
Now, Alicia, the life we live here on this planet is very precarious. One of the definite constants in this life is change. Change is ever ongoing all the time. But that can lead to insecurity. That then leads to the doubt people have about themselves. They're not sure and basically not sure how to get through what's going on. And when they're really frightened by it, they reach for things like religion, which claims absolute knowledge. Well, if you have something that's absolute, you can be pretty secure. Well, it's our position. That doesn't work.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, one more thing actually about the change, definitely it shows that, how adaptable you are with the new technologies as well. You adapted everything throughout your career journey, and you were everywhere actually. You were interviewed like more than 3,000 times, and it shows your adaptability actually towards the change. So when I was a kid actually, I heard this line saying that, change is the only constant thing in your life. So as you grow along, you have to accept the changes. So that is very wise, and thank you so much. I'm really enjoying talking to you guys. Moving towards our next question is about most commonly asked to me actually by the professionals, which is like about career growth and success. So first thing is like, I would like to ask is how you define the success, and when it comes to the career growth, what are the common mistakes you find among the professionals?
I'll grab this one.
Mm-hmm.
Career success is growth and change, allowing yourself to be ambitious and to be clear about what gives you pleasure, what you want to go after, not getting stuck in a rut. And that's not to say there aren't some people who arrive at a particular position in their career and they enjoy it and that's enough. That's fine. But so many people start to downplay their capacity, and then they start saying things like, well, I got this far, I got further than I ever expected to. What makes me think I can get ahead even more? I'm just going to give up, and I'll stay settled where I am. And then
we call that the fear of being fabulous.
Exactly. That is the fear of being fabulous. And then they feel frustrated. They feel stuck, and they don't need to. They do not need to. They can overcome the fear of being fabulous.
And to succeed in any dimension, you need persistence, you need a vision, you need adaptability, so you can change with whatever comes to you. Though most people are not prepared in school for those kinds of moves. They find themselves stuck and afraid. So they don't move forward. I want to define something here. When we say fabulous, we don't mean the Taj Mahal. We don't mean $100 million. We don't mean any of that sort of stuff. What we mean is getting beyond what's blocking and taking the next step. That's a huge move. If people don't know it, first of all, and appreciate it, they can't move.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, taking that extra step, right? I always differentiate between when we think about the people, who are more getting settled down in their own comfort zone, and the people who go extra mile or the extra step to achieve what they want to achieve, or as you mentioned, that when they overcome their fear of being fabulous and they take that extra step to achieve what they want to, or what they are worth doing. So I think, does that something always differentiates between the leader and the follower? We say because leaders always show that courage kind of thing, where they want to go extra mile and reach out and pursue their passion further.
And pursuing the extra mile often has to do with either asking for a promotion. If you're working corporately, you need to talk to your manager and ask, what's involved to get my next promotion? So many of our clients over the years have said, oh, that's so pushy. Oh, no, I don't want to be seen as that aggressive. And we learn that back in their family culture, You were supposed to head down, work hard, and somehow miraculously you'd get ahead. And we say, no, that's not how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
You have to speak up. And in many professions, there are ways that you still must tell your agent, tell somebody that you want more. And I want to just double back on, Jim and I grew up in homes where the words ambition and career didn't exist. Neither of our fathers graduated from high school. They worked everyday jobs. So another thing we realized that when we were acting and we were being paid well and we were getting ahead, we had no sense of ambition or career. It was simply work. And when something else came along, we left without any consciousness of what we were doing.
Also, the families we came from, particularly my family, the word job was central. They had a job. It's a good job. You do a good job. Job. Never a career. Jobs are what you do in the moment. Career is long term. I can be very good at what I'm doing in this moment. I have no idea about a career. Then I will stay stuck in that, not only in that moment, in that task over and over, and then I hate it.
Yeah, that's true actually. And I can definitely find this more useful for the audience, because a lot more times I get those questions around career growth and how you are managing. Like whenever we think about the growth or something, doing something beyond your day-to-day job as well, I think you have to spend the time actually. So you don't have to worry about the weekends, or you don't have to worry about working after hours, like 9 to 5. So that is definitely something comes towards the commitment as well if you are trying to pursue something, and you are truly doing that. So I'm really very happy to have you guys on the show. And moving towards one more important question, or rather I would say one of your roles.
Before we leave this question, another deadly emotional quality is humility. But people hear, oh my God, what do you expect me to be a bragger? You expect me to be hyperbolic? How do you expect me to live if I'm not being humble? People use humility to contain themselves. Let me give you our definition of humility. Humility is not the false suppression of your gifts. True humility is the full expression of your gifts as a way of honoring their source. If you keep that algorithm in place, you won't become arrogant.
And we mean source with a capital S. However people understand the universe and how we are here, honoring the source by being all that you can possibly be.
Yeah. That's true. And I'm really very honored actually when I got the reply saying yes. I was like, oh God, that's like, it's great to have you guys on the show, because I did like a 40 plus episodes now, and I'm hoping to do a lot more in future as well. And when we are talking a lot more about this career growth, I don't think I would have had more more wise guests than you guys. Like you are the most precious to me for this particular show, because it stands particularly about passion, career growth, and the leadership. And I think you are the best leaders I have got. So thank you so much. And moving towards our next question, which is one more role that you play, being an author. So you both are the authors of The Heart of Marketing, Love Your Customers and They Will Love You Back. What is it about, and any quick tips or advice would you like to give to the audience who are looking to excel in their career?
We titled the book The Heart of Marketing.
Yes.
Love your customers and they will love you back, because so many people in business do hard sell. Pound, pound, pound. You need this. It's a bargain. You have to buy it yesterday or you're going to lose out. Blah, 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 blah. And yes, you can make sales that way. And yes, you may even be able to get a new position in a company by being pushy. But we canvassed all the people on our list of what were their most important questions about marketing their product, and marketing themselves. And we answered those questions in our book. So this book is very practical. We have a number of former clients that have come to mind, a massage therapist who uses this book as her Bible for how to grow her career. The heart of marketing, love your customers and they will love you back. Because that's what you're after. You are after being viewed positively by everyone around you.
It does not focus on closing the deal, closing the sale. If you close the sale, that's temporary, that's localized. This focus on how you're going to build a long-term relationship with your customer. That's entirely different and also provides for security under your business.
And when we are talking about this, loving your customers, it is moreover about understanding your customers as well. So what are the important tips actually would you like to give to the audience when it comes to reading your customers or knowing your customer well?
It's important that people understand who they are appealing to. It's important when people are either starting their own business or if they're working for a corporation, what that corporation is appealing to, so that they have a clear idea of who the customer is. It may require canvassing the customers, which a lot of companies do. And certainly online now, people can do A/B testing where they try A, and then they try it again B, and they see which one works best. So what we're encouraging people to do is have a close emotional relationship with whoever it is they are appealing to.
Oh, okay. That is something important to learn, I guess, when it comes to the marketing. And does it come along with the experience, or is there anything that you would like to suggest to the audience, like any online course or books, specific books you would like to check? Your book is already there actually in the market, so I would definitely encourage audience to check that book out. But anything apart from that you would like to guide?
Not from you. Simply to be conscious of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Of who you are appealing to, including when you are going out on a job interview. And today it's not going out; it would be on a Zoom call to have a job interview. But people are hiring. It's really important to understand the business of the company that you are applying to make sure you are a good fit for what they do. That would be another audience for you to understand and hopefully care about.
Yes. Yep. Thank you so much for sharing. And moving towards one more book, I couldn't resist myself because there were so many good books. You already wrote like 8 books, which is like a great achievement to have. One more book of both of yours is that The Smart Couple's Guide to the Wedding of Your Dreams, New World Library. So when it comes to romance and the wedding, what changes do you see in the society that could help people in their relationships?
Tell our story.
Well, the reason that we wrote The Smart Couple's Guide to the Wedding of Your Dreams is that we saw that far too many couples go back to the old-fashioned way of having a wedding. The bride and her parents pay for everything, plan everything, and the groom is excluded. That is not a healthy way to start a marriage. So our book encourages people to create their wedding together as a team, as Jim and I did. We created our own wedding. We wrote our own vows. We faced the audience. Why on earth should the bride and groom have their backs to their friends and family, and the officiant is who they get to see, who they don't care about? So we encourage people to create their wedding to fit who they are, so that they start their married life in joint agreement and creativity, getting off to a really positive start.
Also, going back to dating, we have a phrase that we use: date the way you want to mate. Live in your dating like you would live in your marriage. If you, for example, if a woman wants to be taken care of by the man,
Mm-hmm.
When you're married, financially and in every other way, she should not pay for any of the dating. Make it clear she wants him to pay. Because when you get the marriage, suddenly he's surprised. Wait, you want me to pay? Why don't you pay? That's a frequent argument. And also, if she wants to be a real partner,
Mm-hmm.
then she pays for half. He pays for half. They go back and forth. They create the way they want to mate.
That's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I had dated the old-fashioned way for many years, and it was completely unproductive and frustrating and maddening. But about a year before I met Jim,
Mm-hmm.
I realized I had to date the way, I didn't know the phrase then, but certainly at the end of our first date, and the check came, Jim said, may I pay for this? And I said, only if I can pay the next time.
Mm-hmm.
So I let him know that I was going to be paying half,
Mm-hmm.
and that I wanted to see him again.
And when we got up to the parking lot, I said to her quite spontaneously, if you're paying the next time, you call me.
Mm-hmm.
She said, yes, I will do that. Then we were launched.
And he got 50 more points for that. It was back before people texted, so phone calls were the way to connect. And we went from there in terms of developing a mature, healthy, grown-up relationship
Mm-hmm.
that is also fun and romantic still to this day, 33 years later.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And it's really very inspiring actually for the today's generation, because a lot more marriages and the relationships, the way it works nowadays, people are less patient, I feel, and they are ready to quit from the relationships. So really very inspiring to see you both succeed, as well as God bless you both of you. Moving towards coming back to our topic, like career and everything. When it comes to challenges in a personal life or in a professional career, what should be the ideal approach for anybody to have?
What is not an ideal approach, which many people suffer from, they don't ask for help. You want your career to advance, ask for help. Find people who can give you the answer that you're looking for, or the process that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And be sure to give help when you're asked, but ask for help.
Yep.
Men tend to think that demeaning. It's not at all. Quite the opposite. It's quite strong.
And there are plenty of people out there who want to help you if they know you need help.
Mm-hmm.
I would also encourage people to think that when they run into a challenge, it's a growth opportunity.
Mm.
It's time to stretch. It may, as Jim said, you may need help.
Mm-hmm.
Get it. Grow. Do not get stopped just because you got a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you so much. And moving towards the end of the show, but I don't feel like closing this because it's very interesting to talk to both of you. But coming towards our last question is about success. So when it comes to success, what are some of the approaches one can follow to be successful long term? And as you experienced it for a long term, you both have combined 70 years of experience and you both are successful. So it would be great if you can share your experience actually to be successful long term, how it would be possible and how one can follow any approach that one can follow.
So it's important to intend to be successful long term. Too many people, when they get into their older years, starting even in their 50s or 60s, begin to say to themselves, I'm at the end. I'm too old. They won't want me anymore. Jim and I don't feel that way at all. We have our success continues to grow because we intend it that way. That is what we want. We both expect to live past 100. We stay healthy.
Yeah.
We eat healthy. We have exercise. We have friends, family that we stay in contact with. And we intend to be successful long term. I can't underscore that enough. People undermine themselves by starting to doubt whether it's the imposter syndrome or I'm getting too old or please, please, please don't, everybody listening to Leisha's podcast, do not let yourself fall into that.
Yep.
Also, success has to be defined by the person. If you have some idea of what you think success is, when you do succeed, you can't recognize it. You have to use your own definition as a measure. So another thing really critical, when people have successes, little, small successes, they have to be celebrated. You have to be acknowledged as such. Otherwise, you're always striving but never getting fed. That's just crazy making.
Yeah. Really very wise actually, and very very happy to have you both on my show. Really appreciate your time as well as the consideration to be on my podcast. And just to summarize, I would just highlight the quick keywords like that you mentioned, that dedication, then conscious efforts, and celebrating the small successes is nothing but your life actually. So whether it is a personal life or your professional career, it is all depends on your mindset and how you look into it and how you set for yourself. So thank you so much, and hope audience you will enjoy this show and episode, as well as if you have any more questions, definitely reach out to Judith and Jim. They are more wiser, and as I mentioned a couple of times in my prior post as well as here in the podcast, that they are having the 3 minutes video on You Are a Miracle. So do check it out, and if you have any questions or the feedback, please do feel free to reach out to them. Thank you so much, and as I always say, until we meet, happy leading. Let's lead together. Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Terrific, Leisha. Thank